Okay, so we're starting with lesson 49, lesson ifa. So the goals are this lesson introduces koiha I, where I is at the back of the sentence. And this means why or for what reason with both noun and pronoun subjects. So we can take a look at the dialogue first. So it's koiha na ke hao ki Tongan ni. Mhm. Um, o ko fito koni ki ka kai tonga. Um, o ko fito koni ki ka kai tonga. Okay. So we'll kind of look back at this dialogue, but in the notes, we learned that I is the principal indicator of the why question, and it comes immediately after the verb phrase. So to see an example of that is here. Yeah, it is kind of like a place filler because I guess mhm. Yeah, so like the answer could be na ita asione. Yeah, so I kind of like replaces nouns or like other things like that. And so here it's kind of like uh yeah. So I kind of think of it as like koi like it's koi ha I. So we'll see that in the next note, but it's kind of like for what reason, right? Was he angry? Like because this kind of stands in for that. Um yeah, so you can see yeah, so you can see that in two different scenarios. Um So koihana ita aesione versus koihana ita lahi aesione. So this is just showing that I comes after the verb phrase. So if you add an adverb like lahi, I will come after that. Like it wouldn't make sense to say itai lahi aesione. That would split it up and it wouldn't make sense. But kind of ongoing what you were saying. So koiha is really a shortened version of koiha euhinga dot 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 I, right? So like what is the reason in it, right? What is the reason that it was done? Yeah, so uhinga is it means reason. And another common sort of question, like why question is koiha mea ai. So what is the thing therefore? It's kind of like what is the thing like in this situation that caused this, right? So whether you use mea or uhinga, it's kind of it's the same construction. Um, and yeah, as Shumway says, it's a common expression for the why question. So anyways, here we see koiha mea, um, kind of is an exact replacement for koiha hinga. So koiha mea na ita sione. Why is John angry? So it like the fact that we use mea thing doesn't really translate here. And then similarly, um, koiha mea hukefia aroai, right? It's the same construction. It just translates to why. Yeah, so you can see like the sentence if we translate it literally is what is the thing that you want to go like I guess it's kind of hard to translate directly, but like what is the thing in which like that makes you want to go, right? Because I is kind of a substitute for um in it or like there or it's like Shumway says, it's really hard to translate, but um, I guess in the sentence, what is the reason you want to go for? It kind of is like for in that. Um, but we'll just look at some examples that use that. So drills in positive questions. So, koe hau ke pehe ai? Yeah, so this pehe is like this. So this is an interesting sentence that is something that you can't really do in English, or I mean you can like here's some translations, but it's literally like why are you thus, right? And so, yeah, you can see the translation. Um, but you can see like the translation that Shumway comes up with is "What's wrong with you," which is a much better like sentiment for what the sentence is. Like, why are you like this? Well, like, why are you doing that? You know, what's wrong with you? Yeah, yeah, and then some pronunciation notes with "I." Um, you have to distinguish it from "I," right? Yeah, and also in "behe," yeah, it's not "behe," it's "behe." So, how could it "behe I"? Yeah. Um, did everyone? Yeah, everyone repeated the first one. Koe hau ko ke whiaro ki tong... ai. Koe hau ko ke whiaro ai ki tonga. Koe hau ko ke tō mui ai. Yes, so that's a good note. So Tongans, like, a lot of the time, Tongans will just start a sentence with ha. Like, hana keitai, you know? That's like, why are you angry? Because there's really no ambiguity if you drop the koi. And so that's a really common way for Tongans to speak. And so if you're listening to native Tongan speech, you'll notice that. Um, Koe hauku ke tō mui ai. Mhm. Um, Koe hauku ke tangi ai. Okay. Um, because this I is the last vowel of the previous word, and then there's no glottal stop. There's no apostrophe in front of the a. You can kind of think of it as like this, tangiai, and that will sound correct. So if you say tangiai, that's how you want it to sound. Yeah, exactly. So in English, we naturally want to separate words out. So like if one word ends in a vowel and then the next word starts in a vowel, especially in English, we really, really want to have some sort of consonant sound in between, whether it's like a trailing Y sound or a trailing W or a trailing R, or if we can't do that, we'll just add a glottal stop in English. And so it's really hard to break that habit and to switch into this where it's kind of just the default to have the two words kind of blend together if there isn't a glottal stop. And then the glottal stop sort of indicates that you do need to break that up from the previous word. Um, okay, we did this one, right? All right. We didn't do tangi. Okay. Um, Koe hau ke launga e sione. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Koe hau ku launga e sione. Right. Um, Go how could feel fucky. Why is there an apostrophe there? Why is there that? Go how could feel fucky I thought he knew. Uh, okay. Um, okay. Go how go fuck a pico pico ya Anna. Yeah. So K's and Tongan are kind of unaspirated. So pico, ko, like that. Mhm. It's actually the same with the P's. Yeah, you can go again if you want, but with P's they're also unaspirated. So it's not pico, right? It's pico. With like if you put your hand in front of your mouth, you wouldn't hear, or you wouldn't feel any air after the F. Um, like the rest of the sentence is unaspirated, or the rest of the word is unaspirated. Ana. All right. Ko how ko pehea fi now. Yeah. All right. Ko how ko si ai mekai. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So you don't have any H's where there needs to be. That was good. Okay. So now we're gonna go to negative versions of these same things. So sort of the only difference we'll be seeing is after the tense marker, we'll have ikaite or ikaike, depending on what the sentence is. And also looks like I forgot question marks here. All right. 49. Okay. Koe hao ko kaiteki fia aro ai? Yeah, that was good. Yeah, and so again, because the previous word ends in a U, you can kind of act like instead of a space here, there was a W, right? Alawai, and that'll make it sound correct. Mhm. Koe hao ko kaiteki whengai, right? Koe hana I kaiteki hawai. Good. Koe hana I kaiteki hakoai. Mm-hmm. Right. Next is koe hao ko kaiki fia aro ai sione. Right. I guess. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ko hana I kaiki vainga ai mele. Ko how koe kaike I heni ai whai ako. All right. Okay. So now we're going to move on to converting. So let's see. How should we do this? Should we? So, okoke ita. So, O ko hela ia e tamaiki. Ko how ko hela ia e tamaiki. So, o ko saia finau ia mele. If you want, but the main question is just to respond with the Y version of this. So if you look at the one we just did, it's okuhelaia tamaiki is the statement. So so the children are tired, right? So that's the statement that children are tired. We want to ask why are the children tired? And so in order to change this statement into a question, we say koiha, and then we say so we add koiha, and then we say what we did before, okuhelaia. So you can see okuhelaia, and then we add I. So koiha okuhelaiai, and then we finish it with the end of the sentence. So etamaiki, and we see here etamaiki. So with the question I asked you, we have okusaia a finau iamele. Finau likes Mary. And so you need to somehow change this so it says, why does Finau like Mary? By adding koi hai. That's correct. Um, yes, yeah, so not everyone can just repeat the question just to get practice with the question. So, Red Yoshi, you're next. Okay. You're up. Um, yeah, so, okay, fia akapulu. So the question or the statement is, Nai loto mamahia ana. Akole, it's your turn. So your statement is, Nai nofo asione i mua. Mua, yeah. Yeah. Yes. So Mu'a means in front, but it's also the name of this village right here in the bay on Tonga. Mui. Mui. Here we see capital M, so it's you know it's the village and not in front. Yeah, John Arcione. Yeah. Okay. Um, Akole, can you do you know it? Okay, that's correct. Okay, All right. Mhm. Okay. Aliyah, you're first this time. So the statement is na ikai teke alu. Okay. Next one, this is for you. Okuke nof or okuke fia nofoheni. Yoshi, this is yours. Okumotangi. Yeah, mo. Mo. No, no, no. You had it right the first time. First time was good. Tangi ai. Next one is okuke mo ua. And this is akodeas. Mm-hmm. Next one is alea. This is for you. Nakelea mai. You spoke to me. So yeah, so the ge is you, and then because it's na'a, it's spoke, past tense, and then this mai is to me. Yeah, so the mai is like an adverb, so it describes how you lea. So you lea to me, and so lea mai is part of the verb phrase, right? So um yeah, yeah. Foca pico pico. Yeah, it's a fun word to say. Good. Picoai. Yeah, you just need to avoid the glottal stop in front of the I. Good. Next one. Radioshi, this is for you. Ocupeate vita. Yeah, so this chapter kind of introduces something that's really Tongan, and we're getting further and further away from sentences that translate very directly into English with this chapter. Um, yeah, we can see so koi hai. Yeah, yeah. With pehe specifically, um, it's kind of easy to understand. It's like thus. We have thus in English. We just don't use it very often. Um, yeah. So yeah, the construction is what I was talking about too. This koi hai is very different because it's two different things. Um, yeah, so we learned that, of course. So pehe was seen a lot in this chapter. This is the first time we've seen it used this way. So we have thus, thusly, that way. It says see word studies one. So I don't have that transcribed in this document yet. But if we look up pehe and word studies, which is on like page 525, word studies, if you have the book, and maybe I should just go ahead and oh, yeah, it might be a good idea for me to transcribe and upload, like just skip straight to them because they appear right after lesson 130. But they have a lot of really useful things in them. So it says pehe is thus, thusly, this way, like that, such to continue on. And then Shumway says must not be confused with pehe, which is spelled exactly the same, which means to say or to think. So like o te pehe koi is don't be that way, not don't think, right? Yeah. Some more examples are Naikai te o amanaki o kana fu'upehe fau. Which translates to I had no idea they were so much like that. O te ke lehe i te amanaki is hope, but here it's kind of like expect. Yeah, so Naikai te o amanaki o kana fu'upehe fau. I had no idea is how they translate that. Sort of like I did not hope for this or I did not expect. that they would be so much like this, so like pehe to this degree. Um, yeah. Another example is otekele ite pehe. Don't speak angrily like that, right? So adding it at the end as sort of like an adverb. Um, mo pehe atu ki fetu koe is you continue on like as you're going up towards that place over there. And it says this sentence would usually be accompanied by a gesture. So like you can see in this sentence, pehe is sort of like the only verb, like mo pehe atu ki fetu koe, like be like this over there to that place that I'm pointing to. Um, right. So mo pehe atu is how it's written in the word studies. So yeah, it's hard to translate because we really wouldn't like be thus. So by just saying mo pehe atu, it's like you're talking to those people. And then when you say pehe, you're kind of just referring to the way what they're doing right now, right? So you would only say this to people who are already walking towards the thing, and you're telling them keep going, like move along, kind of in English, right? Move along, or keep on going, like. And you would say that to like if you were giving directions to someone, like like how do we get here? It's like mo pehe atu ki fetu koe, and then you'd point. Um, and there are a lot more examples in word studies, so I'll try to get that transcribed so you can refer to that. Um, wow, yeah. So we'll very quickly go through lesson 50. Just so we get more than one lesson. So it's transitive verbs with subject pronouns in the declarative and imperative expressions, and the focus marker a in transitive constructions. So let's see what they're talking about. The dialogue is de que ave amele. Ikai teo ave aseni. All right. So we learned in lesson 40. So let's see what they're talking about. Come on. Proper nouns. Yeah. So this is kind of just like the focus marker, whatever. We learned this in regard to intransitive verbs. So nai alu amele, wherein a or a focuses the activity on the verb on a proper noun, which is the subject. So here we're learning transitive constructions. This book doesn't use the language ergative absolutive, and it never talks about um, agent or actor or anything like that. Yeah, or agent or patient, anything like that. It doesn't use any of that sort of formal linguistics. So if you are familiar with that, focus marker is basically uh, what is the official linguistic term for that? So in linguistic terms, Tongan is ergative absolutive, right? So that basically means doesn't actually refer to um the subject. It refers to the thing that the activity is on. So in intransitive sentences, refers to the person doing the thing, but in transitive, it refers to the thing that the thing is being done to. And so, like even this can be kind of confusing. So it's better to just sort of show some examples. So let's see, what is all this? Again, it is usually dropped. Is this not? Are we not learning transitive sentences in this chapter? Oh no, we're learning it with subject pronouns. Okay, so compare. So yeah, so it's nai alu asione, right? Down here, what it means is John went, right? And so we say asione, so alu asione, right? That means John went. So we know that because the a is before sione, and that means he's the person who did the going. But ave is a transitive verb. So you ave, like one person aves something else, right? And so we say teu. So we already have right here the person doing the thing. It's I, it's me. Um, and so because we already know I'm the person doing the bringing or the taking, what this acione refers to is who I'm bringing. So I will take John. And so if you're really just familiar with English, this can be super confusing, right? Because we just learned through like 50 chapters of, that marks the person doing the thing. But you're going to have to kind of get an intuition for this other way of sentence structures where um, if you have, teu, this sort of refers to the thing taking the action. Um, and this is kind of something that you really just have to hear a lot of Tongan to sort of get an intuition for it if you don't have any experience with these kind of languages. Um, so we'll just look at some practice, and this chapter isn't very long, so we'll get through that. But we'll distinguish verbs that occur with key phrases that occur with ah. So this is an important thing to remember also is this new sentence structure that we're learning. It's kind of similar to this, like using ki or e, um, because nakusio kia devita in English translates to I saw David. And in English, this is sort of a transitive section sentence. So I saw David, like I did the seeing, and the thing I saw was David. Here, the sentence is more literally like I saw to David. Um, whereas, yeah, yeah, and so we have, mhm, yeah, and we have that in English. We have a lot of that. So like looked in English, we don't say I looked, like you don't say I looked David. You say I looked at David. Um, and so we have the exact same thing here, where in Tongan there's some that are to and some that are which is just like the default sort of transitive structure. Um, so yeah, so Alia. Um, yeah, so it's I guess it's just important to note that there's a difference between um or some verbs take kia, some verbs take ia, and some are just ah. So sio uses ki, ave is just transitive, tokoni is ki, omi is also just transitive. And again, oh, you crashed. And again, where this focus marker would get reduced to just e instead of I before common nouns. The same thing happens here. So even though it's indicating something different now, like this the object rather than the subject, we still drop it all the same. Um, and yeah, this is important. So the verbs that take the ones that are just normal transitive, uh, this should say far. They far outnumber those that take ki. So a lot of the most common verbs do take ki. So sio and tokoni. We see these. We use these verbs all the time, and they take ki. But most of the time, we'll just use a. And this is the standard case. We have just one section of drills, repetition and memorization. So you can just repeat after me for this. Let's see, we can zoom in a little more. So lesson 40 just introduced a. This is the first time we're seeing transitive sentence structures at all. This is the first time in the book that they appear. And so we're learning it first with u. And I think 51 introduces no 52. Yes, so 52 is when we first get to the marker, right? Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. So yeah, that's what we're practicing here. Um, Ave Aseni. Taufia Pita. Mokumi a kepu. Tale fehui. Yeah. Tutoi mama. Faile soni. Maihele. Mana tu ile soni. Te kawata maiki. Na ke faile soni. Ko ke o si fae ngawe. Na ke kume pita. Na ke tare fehui. O ke mana tu ile soni. Na ke tau feta maiki. Stop. Na maukume fare. Na ko ave tohi. Te whae ngawe. Tēne ome tamasi I. Good. So this chapter is short, but there's a lot of vocabulary because now that we've learned transitive verbs for the first time, we're seeing a lot. Yeah. So ave was sort of like it was featured in the dialogue section right here. And so it means to take or bring. So like if you bring or if you use ave on a person, you use bring just because in English that's usually what we say. And it kind of depends, like if you're saying ave to here, yeah, hmm yeah. So it in English, I guess bring is just take, but towards me, right? And so yeah, I will take John. Actually, they even I guess they use omi. They're translating omi as bring. Anyways, that's right here. Yeah. So I guess ave is take, omi is bring, because omi is to me. Uh, Yeah, so phi is to do. Um, yeah, so this is very, very general. This can be used for a lot of different things, just as general as do is in English. Hele is knife, and you can kind of put adjectives after that. No, hele is any blade. So hele ta is sword. Um, yeah, ta is to like is to hit, right? Or like strike. Um, yeah. And then yes, so hele is any blade at all, and you can modify that. Heleta is sword. is sort of like a good one to know. Kumi is a transitive verb, so it's search or to look for. Uh, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's a transitive verb, meaning it takes a. That's what I was trying to say by that. Mama is light, any kind of light, so lamp or a lantern or a light bulb. Um, and I mean, so sometimes you won't see this in reference to electric bulb because sometimes that'll just be called uhila. So like to turn off the lights, you'd say turn off the electricity. Um, yeah, uhila is lightning or electricity. Mhm. Mai is so this is short for oh my, like bring to me. So as opposed to sort of the adverb my, which means towards me, this is just my. So people will just shout like my hele, right? And that's the most normal thing you'll hear for give me that knife. Um, yeah, so it's just it's very, very common abbreviation of oh my, and so it's important to know that so you don't get confused. Yeah. Uh, whoops, what did I do? Okay. Manatui is remember, to remember something. Yeah. So like hono manatu is its remembrance. So like manatu is a noun most of the time. Um, and it's kind of a tricky thing with Tongan is like there are a lot of transitive verbs that don't end in e, and sometimes you can add e to those words, and it kind of modifies the meaning a little bit, and it's really not super consistent to just like, oh, if I add e, it always does this, right? Um, and so it can be kind of frustrating to kind of figure it out. But like if you look up manatu in the dictionary, um, mana manatu is t. So manatu actually is listed as a intransit or as an intransitive verb. To think of, call in mind, remember, or to bear in mind, usually followed by ki. Or it can be a noun, bearing in mind, remembering, or memory in general. Um, or it can almost mean, hmm. Yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and so yeah, so just like in manatu, where that's an intransitive verb technically, and then manatu is a transitive verb that means basically the same thing, like to think of. There'll be a lot of other words in Tongan just like that. So omi is bring. Yeah, and basically if it does end in e, like I'm there's maybe I'm just misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it's always transitive if it ends in e. But sometimes the same word without the e is also transitive, and that's where it gets confusing. Yeah, so I mean you can see right here, tutu is to burn to light. Um, so in the dictionary, tutu is listed as a transitive verb, and then in parentheses immediately following it, they say you can add e to the end of it. And so yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. They haven't listed a different meaning. They're saying that whether you add e to the end of it or not, um, it's still transitive. So I feel like e is kind of a suffix that makes something definitely transitive, but if something doesn't really have a good intransitive version, eventually people will just use this transitively and will drop the e. Yeah. Yeah. So there is no difference between tutu and tutui. It's just kind of like if you want to be very specific about it being transitive, you can add that. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So we were about to do Omi. It's just bring, and you can see Ave and Omi look a lot like um Omai and sort of um I don't know, like Ange and stuff like that. I don't know. They kind of fit into the same sort of categories of words that mean to me and away from me. Atu is what I was trying to say. Yeah. So tali is answer, but it's also to accept and or receive something. Yeah, tali mai is answer me. Yeah, or like provide an answer to me. Taufi is to stop yourself, like you yourself stop, or to stop something else. And then tutu um, is to burn, to light, ignite. Um, I mean, if you do add ow, that would just be for emphasis. It wouldn't change the meaning. So you can use it without. Yeah. So you can just use taufi as an intransitive verb is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Um, and yeah. So good. That was lesson 50. Do you guys have any questions about what we went over today? Okay, then thank you for coming.